Hello, Jimmy. It's Chris Tinsley here.
Not the Chris Tinsley.
Yes, the Chris Tinsley, City Sound Hospital. How are you? How are you keeping?
Yes,
well, yes.
Bless my soul.
Yes, I'm.
Fancy you being there and me being here.
I know. I can't believe it. I know. It's amazing.
This is the moment of my life.
Yeah. Yes. I cannot believe I'm interviewing a legend. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Who's that?
I can't remember actually.
All right then.
Okay. Right. First question I want to ask you: you started your career. Was it at the Mecca? Was it? Was it back in? You started your career at the Mecca. How did you get your job with Radio Luxembourg?
Well, I was up with this new idea for people dancing to records.
Were you?
It hadn't really been done before, and I started it all off, would you believe, in about the 1940s, and I hired a room for 50 pence in Leeds, wrote out some tickets, and it said Grand Record Dance, 1 shilling, and I sold 12 tickets, and they all turned up, and all I had was a wind-up gramophone and about 7 records which I'd borrowed, and they all danced around to these records. They all thought it was a great night, and I thought, isn't that wonderful? And a girl came up to me and said, how much do you charge for your music? And I said, why is that? She said, well, it's my 21st in a fortnight and I can't afford a band. So I said, £2.10. So she said, right, I'll book you. So the first paid gig was for £2.50 for a girl's 21st. And I knew that I was on a winner, and it was only a question of time before the country realised that I was on a winner. So I was the manager of the Mecca in Leeds, and we had 4 nights dancing to records, but this time no wind-up gramophone, proper Westrex sound system and all that sort of stuff. And a guy came in and he said, I've never seen records played like that before. So I said, no, it's a bit new. And he said, would you fancy a job on Radio Luxembourg? And I said, yes, why not? And he said, okay, come for an audition on Monday. And I said, no. He said, why not? I said, well, you've seen what there is. That's all there is to offer. You either want it or you don't want it. So he said, cool, you're a bit of a turn, aren't you? And I got a telegram, your Radio Luxembourg programme starts next Monday, and I travelled down to London to 36 Hertford Street for the Radio Luxembourg studios, and that was me for 10 years on Radio Luxembourg.
The programme was called Teen and 20 Disc Club, is that right?
Yes.
And what type of programme did you do on your show?
Well, actually, I did 5 shows a week on Luxembourg, all with different titles. There were Guys, Gals and Groups, Teen and 20 Disc Club, and all those things. And they were just for the Decca Record Company, and so I played Decca Records, but for the TTDC, the Teen and 20 Disc Club, we did a new thing. I invented the Tune a Minute spot, and we played 1 minute of the top 5 records in the hit parade. Now, it didn't matter whether they were Decca records or EMI records or Philips or whatever, and this had never been heard of. I mean, Decca didn't play Philips records, but my Tune a Minute spot was a phenomenal success because you got 1 minute of each of the top 5 records. And 10 years, I won every single award there was for disc jockeying at the time, and that was it.
And I know you did your shows mostly from London. Did you ever go to Luxembourg? Did you ever do a show? So no.
Never been to Luxembourg in my life.
No.
And I went down 38 Hertford Street, which is in the west end of London, and that was the only place I went.
That's right. Okay. My next question. What was the reception on tour? It was never that brilliant. But how many listeners did you get on Luxembourg?
Well, we had. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
And you can work out the listeners yourself.
Okay.
First of all, the transmitters were in Luxembourg, and they were the powerfulest transmitters you could get at the time. But of course, as transmitters do, and as radio signals do, they fade a little bit, and then they come back strong, then they fade, then they come back strong. And that was the early problem with Luxembourg for British listeners. Right?
Yeah.
It kept fading. But you got used to it because you expected it to do that, and you realised why it faded is because the transmitters were parked all those miles away in the middle of Europe. Now, I managed to get a visa, which is another story entirely, to go to Soviet Russia. That was when Premier Khrushchev was in power. And in those days, all there were you could listen to on transistor radios. They were called transistor radios, little things. And I took my transistor with me to Russia, and I was staying in a big hotel called the Hotel Ukraine. And I went out at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night to stand on the steps, bitterly cold as it is in Russia at 10 o'clock at night, and I dialed Radio Luxembourg, and lo and behold, I heard my own programme coming out, a bit faint, but there it was. Now, if you put a pin in Luxembourg and a piece of string reaching out to Moscow, and then draw a circle with it, that was the potential listening figure, and that covered this part of the world.
It was always the thing about Luxembourg. The reception kept fading in and out all the time. Actually,
that's what I just told you.
Yeah,
why.
That's right. Yeah, you were talking about some of the singers and groups. Did you ever interview anybody on your Teen and 20 Disc Club? Any ones you can remember? Any funny stories or anything?
Everybody.
Yeah.
A guy came into my little. I was staying in a little hotel in London at the time. A guy came in, knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and there's this very glum-looking geezer with 4 lads standing behind him, and he says, "Hello," he says, "we're a pop group, and we know you live here, and we wondered if we could ask for some advice." So I said, "When did you eat last?" And he said, "Yesterday." So I marched him across to the cafe, sat him down, give him sausage, eggs and beans and chips, and his name was Tommy Scott, and his group was called the Senators. So I listened to him, and I said, "Well, actually, Tommy, you're not a group singer, you're a solo singer. So that's tough, but that's the way it is. And you need a new name, a new manager," and we got him both of those. And by fluke, I played his first record that he made under his new name on Radio Luxembourg, and it's not unusual, and his name was Tom Jones.
Fantastic, Jim. Brilliant story, that.
And that was just one.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Excellent. Now, I want to tell you about you. Now, when your Top of the Pops started in 1964, is it true that it was? Where was it first broadcast?
Manchester.
That's right. It was in a church, wasn't it?
It was in a church, so we called it Pray TV.
Pray TV. And can you remember how you got the job on Top of the Pops?
Yes. I got it through the Teen and 20 Disc Club on Radio Luxembourg, because the BBC realised they're going to have to, on television, put this pop music stuff, which they didn't want to. And the only thing they could do was to take the Top of the Tree, which was my programme on Luxie, Teen and 20 Disc Clubs, and so the title was a bit long for a television show. So I said, "What about Top of the Pops?" And they said, "Terrific." So I did the first one, Wednesday, January the 1st, 1964, and I did the last one. So I did it for nearly 40 years, on and off, and that's how it started.
Can you remember who was on the first Top of the Pops? Do you remember?
Yeah, there was the Hollies.
Yeah.
There was Hollies. There was Dusty Springfield.
I can help you actually, because I've got a book.
Go on. Who else were there?
There was the Swinging Blue Jeans.
Yep.
Dave Clark 5.
That's right.
There was an audience dancing to Gene Pitney, 24 Hours from Tulsa.
Yeah.
And there was...
Oh, there was an audience dancing to all of them.
Yeah, it just says I've got a Top of the Pops book here, actually.
Good.
And there was Freddie and the Dreamers,
Yep.
You Were Made for Me. And the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Yeah, and that was the first Top of the Pops back in Manchester, the 1st of January, New Year's Day, 1964.
Well, there you are. Now, the Beatles,
Yeah.
they weren't known at the time, and they were a Liverpool group, and I had a small disco in Manchester that I ran on the side. And the Beatles came over, completely unknown. This is long before they were on TV. And they played in my place for £5. And my people wrote down in the book, went down well. So they came back 3 weeks later for £15. And then I did their very first TV show, which was called Thank You Lucky Stars, when Love Me Do was number 9 in the hit parade. And so we all met up again.
Brilliant, Jimmy. That's a great story there. I want to move on, actually. I was down at the National Media Museum in Bradford, and I saw a programme. It was about Savile's Travels, wasn't it?
Yeah.
TV show, and I think it was when Yorkshire TV first started. And I saw the programme, but it was from 1968. Can you tell us a little bit about the programme?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was called Savile's Yorkshire Travels. And what happened was that the BBC television, they had a spot coming from Yorkshire, which was at 10 o'clock on the night time. So therefore, they wanted, because ITV decided that they put a news on at 10 o'clock, and that swamped the BBC's figures. So they came to me and said, have you got any ideas? And I said, yeah, why don't we do a Savile's Yorkshire Travels? I'll do 8 weeks for you. And we did 8 weeks of Savile's Yorkshire Travels, completely obliterated the ITV news figures. And so that's how that started.
Was it, what type of features did you have on? Was it a bit...
Well, it was me going around with a camera crew, almost unannounced, and setting up and doing a thing, like an interesting thing with interesting people. In other words, one day I said, let's go to the steam train thing at MC. So we went out there. The only thing, it was closed, but when they realised we wanted to come out with the television, they fired up a train. And when we were going into Skipton, there was this amazing pall of smoke all over Wharfdale because all the wood was damp, and they put petrol, they put all sorts of things on. And we didn't realise, of course, that the trains weren't running at that time of the year. So that made it very, very interesting, and it was all full of lovely, interesting things.
Oh, excellent indeed, Jim. Now, your most popular show everybody remembers was Jim'll Fix It. And tell us how that happened when it first started.
Right.
Yeah.
I was walking down the corridor, a television centre in London, and walking towards me was the boss of BBC Television, a fellow called Bill Cotton. His dad was a famous band leader, Billy Cotton. Anyway, Bill's walking down, and I'm walking up, and he said, "Here, you." He spoke to me like that in those days, and he said, "You've been sorting things out for people all your life. Why don't we put pictures to it and make a show?" So I said, "Okay, Jim will fix it." And he said, "Jimmy will fix it." I said, "No, Jim, apostrophe, double L, Jim will fix it." So he said, "Okay." I kept on walking, he kept on walking, and that's how the show started.
The most popular one I remember on Jim'll Fix It was the Scouts on the roller coaster. Do you remember that one? Which ones did you like best? Any funny ones you remember?
No, all of them.
All of them.
Because you see, I don't go on television for me.
No.
I go on television for the viewer.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Yeah.
Right, and so whatever I did was for the viewer. Now, when it came to the fix-its, it's rather like you opened a jewel box, and the box is filled with the most amazing jewels, with the most amazing colours and things like that, and each jewel is a fix-it. So I couldn't say that is the best jewel, because they were all different, and they were all wonderful, and they were all marvellous, and the public loved them all, because I did my programmes, not for me, I did my programmes for the public. And the amazing thing for the BBC was, how could I run a programme that I wasn't even on? Because I didn't go on the fix-its, because that wouldn't have been fair. Because if I went on to somebody's fix-it, obviously I'd be Jack the Lad on the fix-it, and the camera would be on me, and the local newspapers would come and take the picture. But I refused to go on the fix-it. So when a fixie went to do their thing, that's all there was to it, just the fixie. So I introduced it, I chatted to them afterwards, I gave them the badge, and the BBC suddenly realised the enormity of a presenter who was actually working for the public, who was getting this amazing show, but never went on it.
That's brilliant. I like that, Jimmy. Can I just ask you, how many shows did you actually do? Because you did it for quite a few years, didn't
20
you?
20 years.
20?
Yeah.
Gosh.
With Christmas specials and bank holiday specials and all sorts of things.
Excellent. Because also, because you did a more recent one, didn't you, a few years ago? Like to see how they all got, how they all were and how they all are now, and things like that.
Yes, they wanted me to do a complete series. Everybody did.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't do a complete series. Once you've got a legendary program, when you're in my business, if you've got a legendary program, you don't need to do it twice.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did, just for the sake of it, for me, I offered to do 6. And I did 6 shows, and it was 20 years since we'd done the programs before, and the 6 shows had enormous viewing figures, and they offered me fortunes to do a series. And I said, no, thank you very much indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a lesson for anybody in the business. If you are lucky enough to get a series which becomes legendary, then don't get greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got 5 legendary programs. I've got Jim Will Fix It, Top of the Pops, when it comes to adverts, Clunk Click, the train takes the strain, seat belts and all that sort of stuff. Each of those are totally legendary, so I don't need to do them again because they keep cropping up.
That's it.
I only this week with all this bad weather, and I've not been going out much. A thing I've done, which I've never done before, was watching a bit of daytime TV. Never watched it in my life, and I saw myself on 4 times last week.
Really?
Yes. And I went, oh, good heavens.
What do you think when you see yourself? I mean, some people don't like seeing themselves on telly.
No. Well, you ask the question, I'll tell you the answer. When I see myself, I go, good heavens, it's me. Oh, heaven help us. Oh, and that's it. That's what I say.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned Clunk Click. That because of the adverts and things, didn't you get it was a chat show, wasn't it?
No.
After that.
No, Clunk Click. What we did was we did the adverts for the seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, as I speak to you today, it's just been rehashed in all the newspapers in North Yorkshire last week.
Oh, that's strange.
They've decided, and the headline was, "It's still as Jimmy says." Right? So legends, they don't die; they go on forever.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when people see you in the streets, do they actually come up to you and give you the catchphrases of, your famous...
Of course they do. What they do is, the majority of people, if I'm in a restaurant or whatever, they come and say, "You never answered my fix-it." And I have a stock reply. And I say, "I remember your letter, but you didn't put a stamped envelope in." And they go, "Didn't I?" Say, "No, otherwise you'd have got a reply." "Oh, next time you write, put a stamped envelope in." And I had 2 of those last night.
I like it. I know my sister wrote in, but...
yeah, I remember her letter.
Do you?
But there was no stamped envelope in it.
Right, okay, I'll tell her that.
You'll tell her that.
I will do, certainly.
You did one. You never wrote to me. I'm very upset, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, no, the reason I didn't write back to you was because you were better looking than me.
No, I disagree with
that.
No,
well, you can disagree as much as you like, but I never write back to anybody better looking than me.
Oh, thank you. I have heard you were once a famous wrestler. Is this true?
Yes, I had 107 pro fights.
Yeah.
And I lost my first 35 fights, but it didn't matter because I was only in it because I enjoyed it.
Do you remember who you were fighting against, wrestlers? Do you remember any of them?
I fought against 107 wrestlers.
Yeah. Was it Big Daddy? Was it in them days?
I don't remember them all.
No.
But I know I got a good ad in most times.
Yeah. And in all of your charity work, when did that all start, Jim?
When I was 6 years of age.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in a house which was opposite an old folks' home. So I used to go into the old folks' home and I was like a pat dog. I'd go and see all the old people and they'd stand by the chair, they'd pat me on the head, "Hello, Jimmy, how are you?" and all that sort of stuff. And some of the old ladies would say, "Jimmy, will you go to the shop and bring me a bottle of stout in?" Which was very illegal, this was, to bring booze into the thing. And they used to give me a 6pence, which was a bottle of stout. And they used to go out and smuggle it in my coat, bring it in, "Oh, thank you, darling, thank you." So I suddenly realised that doing things for people gave great pleasure. And that was when I was 6, and I've done it ever since.
Any future ones coming up on the charity work scene, Jimmy?
No, listen, I don't do charity work. I just live a life.
Right, yeah.
That includes looking after people.
Absolutely.
Look after people all day, every day, whenever you need to, whenever you get a minute. The only thing is, you've only got 24 hours in a day, and you've only got 365 days in a year, so you can't sort out everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw you once up in Ockley, Shevin, it was at 2004, you were doing a bit of jogging. Do you still do a bit? Or
yeah,
not?
well,
yeah.
I run 216 marathons.
Yeah?
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
All started, all finished. I've done Land's End Johnny Groats 3 times. I've done over 300 semi-professional cycle races. And I've run 26 years up Ben Nevis and fell races in the Lake District. So I've been an athlete all my life.
Fantastic. Jimmy, can I ask you, I read today that you've probably raised in excess of 40 million for charities. Do you reckon it's about that?
Double it.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, fantastic.
Not really. It just happens.
It's amazing, it really is. And
not really. If you some people get married and have families. That never particularly appealed to me, which is why I'm into a Rolling Stone. A Rolling Stone gathers no brain damage.
Yeah, fair enough. But no, I mean, I take my hat off to you, because because it was Wikipedia actually I was reading about you, and it said, because you got knighted in 1990, is that right?
I don't know.
Something.
I remember getting knighted. I remember kneeling down from the Queen.
Was it the Queen? That was my question. Was it the Queen that did it for you?
Yes, but I've known her for a long time, so it was like old pals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I obviously never been to a ceremony like that. Is there, is it a full room, or is it just?
Oh yeah, it's the Court of England. It's been going on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's a wonderful thing, because we live in a wonderful country. England gets swine flu every now and again, and we all suffer, but we always get over it. And things like investitures and stuff like that are wonderful things, because you're going right back to the days 200-300 years ago. And old time things, you might laugh at them today, but they contained a tremendous amount of goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you another question? Going back to your Top of the Pops and radio days, obviously music has changed quite a lot since then. Do you think that's for the better? Has it changed for the better for you?
Well, everything changes, and you've got 60 million people in this country. They're all different. A lot of them are different nationalities these days, so they want what they want.
Yeah.
Now, if they have a television set, that means they have to pay a license. So if they have a television license which they paid for, they're entitled to watch what they want to watch.
Absolutely, I
now,
agree.
If you are to be a program man and try and work out a 24 hours of television to accommodate 60 million people of 200 different nationalities, I think you'd have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, today's programs don't suit many of us, because it's things that we don't really understand. But that's the way it is. And if you've got to be selective viewing, you'll always find something that's worth having a look at.
Yeah. I totally agree. Actually. Good comment. Listen, thank you so much for talking to us today. We really, really appreciate it. And have you got any plans for the next few months at all?
I've got one big plan.
Go on.
Wake up in the morning.
Is that what? Because somebody said to me before, not a couple of weeks ago, that if they wake up on a morning, they look at the paper and they're not in their obituary in the back of the paper, then they get up and get ready.
No, that's a clever thing.
Yeah.
So I don't say clever things. You ask me a question, a nice simple question.
Yeah.
I've got the big thing, which is to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And if you do that, that's a great start to the day.
Absolutely. Good for you. So thank you ever so much for talking to us.
Thanks very much, Jim.
An honour and a pleasure, and I'll forgive you for being better looking than me.
No.
Yes?
No, I'm better looking. No.
And don't let it happen again.
I will happen again.
Okay?
Okay, thanks very much, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.